G'day everyone, my name's Jake and welcome to the Living My Best Life, the podcast. Today we're talking about the NDIA. How do we work with them, who they are, and how does that affect our journey when we're applying? Today I'm joined by Tish, my good friend. Hello.
Hi Jake.
How are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm good. It's very warm today.
It is.
I don't know why I'm wearing long sleeve.
I know, I was thinking that before, but I was too polite to say anything.
Oh, thank you for not saying anything. I appreciate it. So for those at home or listening in the car, give a brief breakdown as to who you are and to what you do.
So my name is Letitia. I am a digital content editor at not-for-profit called the Centre for Accessibility Australia. Basically, they audit different company websites to make it more accessible. They also have a help desk that people with disability can call and ask about different accessible apps and all that kind of stuff. So I write articles. I actually get a job for writing, which I never thought would happen. So yeah, it's good. I'm a digital content editor, and that's me. That's all I do. I have no life, except I do as I'm told, like I'm doing here on this podcast.
I have no idea what you're talking about. And you also have an NDIS plan?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Yeah. So what was that journey like? Did you know about the NDIS for a while before you applied? Was this back when there was the old system? What was the story?
So I was one of the originals from I don't know how long ago it was. I don't know, it was a while, it was a few years ago. Basically told that it would be happening. I didn't really have any feelings about it. I was indifferent, so it didn't really bother me. The transition was really smooth. It was just basically I went in and was interviewed and I was set up. So yeah, I had no opinion. I was just like, okay, I'll do as I'm told. Yeah. Okay,
so was there like a support person helping you during the process, or was it kind of you going into the NDIA office and then them taking you through?
Basically that. So I went into the NDIA office, and was taken through, sort of thing.
Yeah, okay. And how was that process? It was pretty smooth sailing?
It was really good. It was around the time when it was all new and all brand spanking, all that kind of thing. So I went in and the people were really nice. And I have to say, everyone I've ever encountered at the Midland office, which is where I'm going, are all super individuals that are really good and supportive and fun. So
awesome. I wasn't going to ask where it was from in case you thought they were all terrible,
no,
and so we didn't have to talk about that, but if they're amazing, that's really, really good. Yeah,
that's I was awesome actually going to say, am I allowed to say Midland? But I did anyway, so yeah.
Cool, so you went to the office when you transitioned from the old funding to the new one?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. How was the application process when you were applying for the old one? Was that a while ago?
I really can't remember. Like, it was a long time ago.
Now, in terms of once you've got your plan, how was that? Okay, so you've got a plan. What did you do with it?
So there was the whole planning stage thing. What do you need? That kind of thing. And for the first couple of years, I didn't really know what I needed because I didn't know really what was out there and available. So, for example, before the NDIS plan, I got a new pair of legs, government sponsored every couple of years.
Yeah.
And they were pretty standard legs, prosthetics, and I like what I know. So when I was told I could actually apply for better legs, for me, I like what I know, so I'm like, I don't really want anything better. But I got funding for better legs, which sounds really funny. So my legs before were quite standard prosthetics, but the legs I have now have like ankle movements in them, which for able-bodied people or people who don't have prosthetics, like, even for me, I was like, I don't really care, but now I can actually walk up and down ramps. Like, it's such a simple thing that I'd never even considered before the plan suggesting, hey, you can have better prosthetics. So, yeah.
That's cool. And they're going well?
Yeah. These are my second pair that I've got.
So circling back,
Yes.
was there anything negative around the experience of applying or transitioning to the NDIS at all?
Not really. There is one thing that kind of grates at me. So when I first went in, like they ask who you are, what you do, all that kind of stuff. And the first time I went in, they kind of asked like who I hung out with, all that kind of thing. And it was a really organic conversation. I didn't feel anything about it until like every year afterwards. So whenever I have a plan, they've written down, so do you still hang out with your friends Anna and these other people? And for me that kind of feels a little bit condescending. I understand the point of it when other people with disability go in with their needs when social stuff is their thing, but that isn't my thing at all. So I feel really kind of patronised every time when they look down and go, oh, so do you still see these certain people every year? So, but other than that, like, and I understand that's their system and it works for other people who have other needs. I just feel like I don't need to be reminded of my friends every time I go in to speak about personal, actual, practical things that I need.
Yeah, okay. So they're still taking the one of the things that you said at the start, is they haven't changed or evolved that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of discourse online around the idea of goals, and that goals being an idea of something means to be fixed.
Yes.
Which, like, goals are great, but they don't work for everyone.
Yes. Yeah. And this is the thing. Like I get social inclusion as a goal for one. I don't know, look, I've got my own baggage with disability stuff, so I understand that I can go in and when they speak about goals, it isn't the negative connotations that I've got from societal stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, what are your goals, social planner person? Yeah.
What are you improving on?
What are you improving on? Yeah. Let me be my antisocial, introverted person in peace. Yeah.
Yeah, being an extrovert is not a goal.
No, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got my emotional support extroverted friend. It's you. It's fine. I don't need to.
I think one of the things I wanted to touch on is how there's a lot of negative stigma around the person on the other end of the phone when you call the NDIA, in terms of a lack of knowledge, a lack of care, a lack of kind of trauma-informed communication. I guess I just wanted to ask, you've said you've had really good experiences. Would you recommend people call or communicate or go into the office? What would your recommendation be for someone?
Yeah, I recommend going in, but I recommend like understanding that like the person behind the desk is an individual, like who is trained in certain things but not everything. I sound really chill about all this, but like like you said, like they're just doing their job, trying their best sort of thing. So if I have an issue, say with the goal thing, well, that isn't the individual support person there. That's the system that they've been given, the script they've been given. So yeah. From my own experience ringing up, so I've been sort of frustrated. There's a lot of red tape with the NDIS. So for example, I only just really started getting support work hours last year.
And you've had a plan for a while.
Yeah, again, that's because I didn't know what was available out there, sort of thing. Not necessarily the NDIS's issue, it's with just about knowledge of what's out there.
Like you don't know what you don't know.
I don't know what I don't know. Yeah. So with support work, I got a certain amount of hours last year, realised I needed more, and then to go through that system, you need to justify why you need more and all that kind of stuff, which I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's a system, it's bureaucracy. The world hates bureaucracy, but at the same time, we need that kind of red tape to a certain extent.
The government, wants to invest in people's futures, but understanding they want a bit of a reason and evidence why they're putting money into something makes sense.
Yes. So I go in and I say I need this, and then the person behind the desk is okay, but you need to do this, this, this to do that, which is a hassle, but at the same time, that isn't the, like, it's not like the person at the NDIS isn't sitting there going, oh, this person wants something, I'm not going to give it to them. Like, there is a process, so I understand.
No, but you've got a point in terms of who we talk to on the phone or who we talk to when we go into an office. They're not the assessor. They're not the one that make the decisions.
Yes.
And they're also not like the CEO who writes or makes edits to an act which they need to keep, obliged to. Otherwise, they get in trouble.
Yeah.
They're just the front person who's trying to do their best.
Yes.
And just as, we have bad days, they have bad days.
Yeah.
And so if it's not the most fruitful phone call, it doesn't mean the NDIS is terrible.
Yeah.
It just means someone's having a bad day.
Yeah, exactly. And I've worked in customer service, and you've worked in customer service, so we get that. So
the application process can be really traumatizing because you've got to get evidence and stuff like that, which can go through what people can't do.
Yeah.
And for mental health side of things, that's just another layer for people who are already traumatized.
Yes.
What advice would you give for people who are assisting the application process?
I would say to keep in mind that you're dealing with people who've had to justify their needs and who they are for their entire lives, or until they've had their accident or whatever it is that had put them in that position, like for Centrelink. I remember once I was on that for years, and then I was told to come in, and I had to give evidence again of my disability, and I'm like, well, it's not like I can grow my arms and legs in secret and haven't told you, sort of thing. Just to understand that it can be frustrating for people to once again have to go justify something that they have felt they've lived with forever or whatever.
Like where things are at now compared to like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay, like there's still a lot of stuff which isn't great, but in 10 years' time, the system's going to have grown a lot more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like stepping back, I can see the system is going to evolve. It is going to change because disability and conditions are becoming more well known, and people who do have disability, who are advocators, is that a word? I'm an English major. People who are advocating, and this is being more public. Like, it will get better, and it's frustrating, and we should go picket and yell and everything. When you look back 10 years and you look forward 10 years and you take a step back and you look at the system objectively, it is going to have that positive shift because society is changing for the better.
Well, I get what you're saying in terms of there is a lot of success and fantastic support which is given.
Yes.
And although you might have a frustrating phone call with the NDIA, you might get a rejection and might not want to ever apply again, have faith that the system can work. It does for a lot of people and is going to grow in a way which can help a lot more as well.
Yeah. You go back to when I was born in the 80s and there were basically no rights or anything, and now it's 2023. I had to double check in my head what year it was. And like from a human point of view, that is a long time, but I think because my major at uni was history, so being able to look objectively, I do wish I had been born around now, because I feel like now is the time that is going to be where in 50 years' time there is going to be a lot more rights and things. So, yeah.
And that's a fantastic point to be in, to be able to say, usually it's the older generations looking at the younger ones and going, they're going to ruin the world, we were the best, but to say, no, there's some good change happening.
Yeah.
Like, how great would it be to be born now to feel the effects of that later on?
Yes, yeah.
So, although you didn't tap into the funds for support workers straight away, you did access them and you did get support. Did you find it helped, and was it worth it?
Yes. For years I never had support work, and I felt like I didn't need it. But then when I had that funding there and I utilised it, it gave me a sense of being able to go out and do things, and actually go for a whole day at university and eat food. Which is something that I never did before. And then I didn't fall asleep in lectures. No, it gave me that kind of a sense of independence. Yeah.
And although you've used that funding until the plan ticks over, do you still feel the positive effects of that now?
Oh, 1,000,000%. Yes. So I've still got funding left. So even though I'm working at the moment and not studying, I've still got a little bit of funding left for emergencies. So if my mum gets ill and I can't have her personal care, it's there, and it's just that sense of knowing that the security there as well. Yeah. So the one thing I do worry about is, because you do hear horror stories, is eventually, well, I want to move out. I mean, that's the plan anyway. But then you hear horror stories of other people with disability who aren't able to get the funding that they need when they live independently, and I do worry about that not being there.
Like that emergency funding being...
The emergency funding, but from my own experience, I haven't had that kind of negative experience.
Let's say you never had the NDIS. Let's say you were applying and I was helping. What advice would you give me to help you kind of have faith that the NDIA can really help?
That's a good question. I don't really think there's anything that you can say. It's just really showing that the processes are there, and the processes are there. So it's really just the horror stories you hear in the news or whatever, which is good because it keeps organisations accountable, and I get that. But at the same time, I feel like it would be nice to hear genuine, good stories as well.
Yeah, I think, so what I'm gathering is to know the process, to know how to apply, what it looks like, what happens afterwards.
Yes.
And to know those steps so that when you hear those horror stories, which are good, that there's that accountability, because those stories get blown up, to know that, okay, but the process is still there, we just got to do it right.
Yes, yeah. No, exactly, yeah.
Which would be a good segue to invite people to come along to the training, which is still available. Check out our website. The link will be in the description. Well, thank you for coming along, Tish.
No, thanks for having me. It was fun.
And there's a lot of people I feel like they can learn a lot from your journey, your story, your perspective. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone that's listening. I appreciate your time, and I hope that you can get something out of it as much as I have. So we'll see you in the next episode.